Have you ever been betrayed by your own flesh and blood? By the very person you trusted most, only to have them steal away your love, your happiness, and the future you had painstakingly built. I once believed my life would remain peaceful, until the day I stood in a church watching my own sister boast that she had married my man. But this story is not just about pain. It is the journey I took through betrayal, through collapse, and finally rising again with a smile no one ever expected. This is not merely a tale of a broken love, but a fair verdict, delivered to the greedy and the deceitful. If you believe betrayal deserves its price, then stay with me. This story will show you justice often arrives in the quietest of moments. Chapter 1. The Betrayal Wedding. The Shock. No one expected. I never thought my life would collapse on a day that was supposed to be someone else's happiest moment. Truthfully, I had once believed I knew exactly what was about to unfold. My younger sister Riley had called me 3 weeks before the wedding. Her voice was brimming with excitement, bubbling over, as if she were about to reveal a sweet secret. "You're going to love my future husband, but I'll save it for the wedding just to surprise you." I laughed, thinking she was pulling one of her usual dramatic stunts. Riley always loved being the center of attention, basking in the moments that made people turn their heads. I had not suspected a single thing. That day, St. Mary's Chapel overflowed with the fragrance of white lilies. The murmurs of guests rippled like an underground stream. But the moment I stepped inside, the air shifted. Eyes turned away, faces tilted elsewhere. No one dared look at me directly. My hand trembled slightly as I touched the wooden pew. Whispered voices sliced into my ears. "Poor Margaret. I wonder if she knows yet." My heart pounded erratically, but I sat down trying to keep my composure. When the wedding music began, I lifted my head toward the altar. And then the world shattered. The man waiting there in the very tuxedo I had chosen for him 6 months earlier was none other than William, my fiancé. The man I had been engaged to for 8 months, the man with whom I had planned a wedding this coming fall. My throat tightened. I had to grip the pew hard just to keep from collapsing. Riley entered, radiant in her flowing white gown, a dazzling smile spread across her face. She stopped her gaze on me and she winked. A brazen, triumphant wink, as if to say, "See, your man chose me." When the priest posed the fateful question, Riley didn't just say, "I do." She turned to the entire congregation and declared, "I want everyone here to know I am marrying the true love of my sister's life." He chose me instead of her. The chapel erupted in shock. Gasps, whispers, stares, dozens of eyes drilling straight into me. Me, the jilted bride, betrayed and humiliated before hundreds of witnesses. In that moment, I thought I would scream, break down in tears, throw myself into the chaos, and expose all my anguish. But no, something entirely different surged within me. I rose to my feet, smoothed down my dress, and walked toward the couple. I looked Riley in the eye, then turned to William. His face had gone pale when he saw how calm I was. I smiled. A quiet smile, sharper than any curse. "Congratulations to you both," I said, my voice carrying through the chapel. "I truly hope you'll be happy with your choice." I kissed Riley on the cheek, nodded at William, and turned away, leaving behind a sea of murmurs and disbelieving stares. No tears, no tragic scene as they had expected. I walked out in silence, but inside me a fire had just been lit. Riley thought she had won. William believed he had upgraded his life, but only I knew the truth. They had just walked straight into a trap. And for the first time in weeks, I found myself genuinely eager to see how their so-called love story would end. Chapter 2. After the earthquake, I drove away from the church, my heart still pounding as if it might explode. That morning, the streets looked as ordinary as any other day, people shopping at the market, children laughing and playing life outside unchanged. Only my world had been torn apart before my very eyes. I sat in my car for another 10 minutes, gripping the steering wheel tightly, trying to breathe evenly so I wouldn't break down. But strangely, no tears fell. All that remained was an emptiness, a chilling coldness that seeped through me. The days that followed, I lived like a shadow. I turned off my phone, ignored every call, and left messages unanswered. My mother left a few formal voicemails. "Are you okay? Don't cause any more trouble, all right?" My cousin texted comfort, "William doesn't deserve you." But I didn't need anyone's pity. What I needed was silence to think. My refrigerator became my calendar. Each morning, I would quietly move one magnet to the next square on the wall calendar, marking another day gone by. I waited for the emotions everyone says should come in order: denial, then anger, then bargaining. But they never came. The only thing I felt was a cold, hollow pit in my chest. Then Riley started flaunting. On Facebook, she posted wedding photos, dance photos, pictures of William kissing her under golden lights. Her captions were overflowing with hearts, flowers, and self-congratulations. Finally, found my soulmate. When the universe aligns, you can't resist. Under each photo, hundreds of comments. You two were made for each other. Riley is so lucky. Not a single person mentioned me as if I had never existed. 2 weeks after the wedding, Riley left me a voicemail. I almost deleted it, but in the end, I listened. Her voice was bright, sugary sweet, but with something strained beneath. "I know things are a little awkward now, but William and I are really happy. Please, be happy for us, okay? I love you." In the background, I heard William's loud laughter. I sat frozen, the phone icy in my hand. Not from pain, but from the way Riley spoke, as if what she had done to me was nothing more than a playful prank. She expected my blessing, my silent submission. That brazenness was more cruel than stealing my fiancé itself. That night, I opened our old photo albums. William and I, together at holidays, on vacations, on quiet mornings, sharing breakfast. I studied his face in every picture. At first, I saw only the man I'd once loved so deeply, but the longer I looked, the more I noticed that smile often never reached his eyes. Those hugs, those handholds, more possessive than affectionate. And then I remembered a name: Chelsea. William's ex, the one who had once sent me a letter I never dared to read closely. In it, she had warned me he doesn't love anyone. He only knows how to control, suffocate, and destroy. At the time, I dismissed her as jealous, bitter. But now, as I pieced together the fragments of memory, I shivered with the realization Chelsea had been right all along. I pulled an old leather notebook from the drawer, opened to the first page, and wrote a single sentence: "William never liked it when I disagreed with him." That first line unleashed a flood of memories. The times he made me doubt myself. The times he made me feel guilty just for wanting something of my own. The pages filled quickly, line after line. And the more I wrote, the clearer a chilling truth became. Riley hadn't won. She had only stepped into the very trap I had escaped. The trap she foolishly believed was her prize. That night, for the first time since the wedding, I laughed. Not with joy, but with a quiet, icy laugh. The laugh of someone who has finally seen through a long game. Riley thought she had stolen my happiness, but in truth, she had only just signed her own sentence. Chapter 3. The First Cracks. Summer slipped by in silence. I returned to work, lived my own life. While few people knew that I spent long evenings quietly watching Riley from afar. She posted constantly, almost every day, showing off some new, happy moment. A massive bouquet. William had bought her a fancy dinner with wine or a syrupy caption: "Right person, right time." But the more I looked, the more I saw the strain. In the photos, William still wore that familiar smile, yet his eyes never truly met the camera, exactly the same as in the years he was with me. Riley was different. At first she glowed, but after only 2 months, her face began to look gaunt. In the corners of the pictures, the dark circles under her eyes, despite heavy makeup, couldn't be hidden. Jessica, a colleague at work, casually mentioned that she had run into Riley and William at the mall. Her words made me pause. Your sister looked exhausted, Margaret. Her eyes looked like someone who hasn't slept. William was the one talking nonstop, and Riley just nodded silently. I simply smiled and brushed it off, probably just post-wedding stress. But deep down, I already knew the truth. One evening, I happened to see them at a cafe near my office. I sat outside with a latte in front of me, while inside, Riley sat across from William in a dim corner. The scene unfolded like a film I had already lived through. William leaning forward, his voice low but cutting. Riley's head bowed her hands, gripping her coffee cup like a lifeline. When he grabbed her wrist, Riley flinched, then quickly forced a smile. I couldn't hear their words, but I didn't need to. I had once sat in that exact seat, swallowing the same strained smiles. The only difference was this: I had escaped while Riley had walked into it willingly. A few days later, Riley called me. I didn't answer. That night, she left a voicemail, her voice soft, hesitant, stripped of all the earlier joy. "Sis, I miss you. Maybe we could have lunch together. Everything feels a little hard right now." I replayed that message over and over, and instead of pity, I filed it away into a separate folder alongside the evidence I had already kept about William. Riley thought she had triumphed when she stole William from me. But in reality, she was beginning to taste exactly what I had endured his control. His belittling the sweetly poisoned cage, William always knew how to lock around someone. And for the first time in months, I felt a strange peace. No more silent tears at night. No more why me questions. Only a cold patience. I didn't need to lift a finger. William would destroy Riley himself, just as he had destroyed every woman before her. All I had to do was sit back, wait, and watch. Chapter 4. When Riley began to call for help. In October, I ran into them at the supermarket. I'd only intended to grab a few small things, but at the end of the aisle, I heard William's familiar voice, hard and cold. "Riley, put that organic bag of vegetables back. It's just a scam to squeeze money out of people." "Do you think we print out our spending plan for nothing?" Riley mumbled. "I just thought trying it once wouldn't hurt." Immediately, he cut her off. "That's exactly the problem. You don't think. We're not millionaires. Don't waste money stupidly." I stood at the front of the shelf, pretending to pick pasta, sneaking glances. Riley shrank into herself, clutching the bag in her arms like a child caught doing something wrong. Her face was so thin and hollow, I almost didn't recognize her. Her clothes hung loose, her eyes filled only with fear. I knew this scene too well. I had once been the Riley of today. At the checkout, William stood close, scrutinizing every single item, his mouth relentless with criticism. Riley kept her head down, hands trembling as she swiped the card. The people around them looked on with discomfort, even pity, but no one said a word. And me, I only stood at a distance, quietly exhaling. A week later, Amanda, Riley's best friend, called me. Her voice was choked with worry. "Margaret, I'm so worried about Riley. She doesn't use her bank card anymore. William keeps everything. She doesn't dare meet us, says he told her we're a bad influence. She once texted me that she wanted to leave, but she doesn't even have enough money to rent a hotel room." I listened in silence, then answered softly. "Amanda, that was Riley's choice. She wanted William, and now she has him. There's nothing I can do." Amanda fell silent for a few seconds, then her voice broke. "You're really just going to watch if something happens to Riley? We, all of us, will be guilty for not saving her." I didn't reply. We ended the call in heavy silence, but inside I felt something different, not regret, but balance. Riley had ripped my life away with her own hands, proudly declaring her victory in front of hundreds of guests. And now she was living the trophy she fought for, filled with control, fear, and emptiness. Winter came with winds sharp as knives. One evening, I sat in my living room, watching snowflakes drift past the window. Amanda messaged me one last time. Riley isn't herself anymore. She avoids mirrors, avoids friends, and it seems she's even avoiding herself. If you don't help, I'm afraid she won't survive this." I put the phone down and poured myself another cup of hot tea. Only one thought filled my mind: I would not save Riley. Not because I was cruel, but because I knew the truth. With William, no one could ever escape until they themselves wanted to. I had once tried. I had once forgiven, once found every excuse to believe he loved me. And Riley now was the same. She had to pay the price, had to hit rock bottom before she even had a chance to rise again. I leaned back in my chair, eyes gently closing. Somewhere in the city, Riley was likely curled up inside the house she once dreamed of, but which now was nothing more than a gilded cage. And me. Finally, I felt at peace. Chapter 5. Sending the File. The following January, I sat alone in my small apartment, surrounded by the files I had quietly kept for years. Old emails between William and his exes. Chelsea's letters, the ones in which she had begged me to believe her. My own notes of the times he manipulated me and the details I had once tried so hard to forget. I gathered everything, organizing them neatly like a lawyer preparing for trial. Each scrap of paper, each message was a piece of the puzzle exposing William for who he truly was. A man incapable of loving anyone but himself. Finally, I wrote a single sheet of paper containing only one line. "Riley, you wanted my life, and now you have it whole without a single piece missing." I placed that sheet on top, slid everything into a large brown envelope. No return address, no trace left behind. The next morning, I took it to a post office in a distant district and dropped it into the box. As the envelope slipped down, a wave of relief spread through me. 2 days later, my phone lit up nonstop. Riley's name flashing on the screen again and again. I didn't answer. All evening, she called dozens of times. Near midnight, a text appeared. "Margaret, I understand now. Please, I beg you, call me back. I need to talk to you." I read it, then deleted it. No reply. On the third day, Riley called again. In the voicemail, her voice trembled broken. You knew everything from the start, didn't you? You knew who he was. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. But I can't breathe anymore, Margaret. Please." I listened through to the end, but my hand pressed, "Save not call back." A week later, I heard the news from our mother. Riley had moved back in with our parents temporarily, while William had disappeared after a violent fight. My mother told me in a worried tone, but I only nodded lightly. Inside me, there was no gloating, no pity, only the calm of someone who had known the ending all along. Riley thought she had won when she stole the man I was meant to marry, but in truth, she had only walked into the trap William set himself, and now I was nothing more than a spectator watching the puppet dance on the very stage she had chosen. That night, I sat by the window sipping hot tea as snow fell outside. My phone lit up once more with another message from Riley's sister. "I'm sorry. I just want your forgiveness. I need you." I turned the phone face down on the table, closed my eyes, and let out a long breath. And for the first time in so many months, I smiled, truly smiled. Chapter 6. Confrontation and Liberation. That summer, the whole family gathered for our traditional reunion at my aunt's house. I had planned not to go, but somehow I found myself driving there anyway. Maybe I wanted to see with my own eyes the outcome of this entire game. And then I saw Riley. She stood alone by the dessert table, no longer the proud bride in a white dress from that day. Instead, she was a frail woman, her eyes constantly shifting away. I overheard some relatives whispering, "She looks terrible." I heard they are separated now. Throughout the evening, Riley kept glancing at me. When I chatted with relatives, she hovered nearby. When I moved to another seat, she lingered close. And finally, as I was slipping on my coat to leave, she stopped me at the door. "Margaret," her voice trembled, "please, just give me a few minutes." I turned back, looking straight into the eyes that had lost all the confidence they once held. Riley was no longer a victor. She was merely a survivor stumbling out of ruins. "You knew everything, didn't you?" She blurted out, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You knew what William was, and you let me marry him. You let me bury myself. I adjusted a button on my coat, speaking slowly. You never asked me. You just snatched him because you thought defeating me was happiness. You didn't want warnings. You didn't want the truth. You wanted my life. And now you have it, all of it, every single piece. She collapsed onto a chair, sobbing. I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I thought you were only jealous. I didn't believe you, but I should have. I looked at her, my heart more detached than ever. Riley, apologies can't give me back the years I lost. They can't erase the sight of me standing in that chapel, watching you boast about stealing the man I loved. But now, I'm not angry anymore. I just feel free. I walked away, leaving Riley sitting there, face blurred with tears. Out in the parking lot, when I started my car, I felt lighter than I ever had, like I had never been wounded at all. William might continue his cycle with someone else. Riley would carry the scar of her life. But me, I was free. Not because of revenge, but because I was no longer bound by their betrayal. That night, driving home through the quiet streets, one truth became crystal clear. This story had finally closed. And I had won. Not by causing anyone pain, but by learning how to walk away, head held high, and choose a life that belonged only to me. The day Riley took my love away, I thought my life had ended. But in truth, it was only the beginning of a new chapter. I did not need to seek revenge with daggers or fury, but with the truth and with silence itself. Because sometimes the deepest pain for a betrayer is being forced to live with the very choices they made. As for me, I broke free. I found my freedom and peace of mind again. This story is not just a revenge story, it is a reminder that the true strength of a woman is not in clinging or competing, but in letting go and redefining her own worth. If this story resonates with you, share in the comments the moment that gave you the greatest sense of satisfaction. And don't forget to follow Scarlet Vows so you won't miss more dramatic, true Reddit stories and revenge stories where betrayal always comes with a price.